Well, you're using the word fear-mongering. I like to use the word clickbaity. That was my only point. So what Shannon's referring to is I made a social media post saying that AI is going to take all of your jobs, and that was really just a clickbaity.
It was yeah. So see what people do for social media attention.
That's right. So hi, my name is Levi.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ellsworth.
And this is Unlimited Access, where we talk about everything artificial intelligence. No, where we talk about what we do here at Ursamin in the sense that we believe people, humans, patients, make better health decisions when they have access to all of their data. And speaking of data, let's talk about it. So
let's talk about data, my favorite topic.
I am a big, I want to say proponent. I'm a futurist. I think you are. I think the future is coming faster than we all want to admit, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. So whether it be the rise of like ChatGPT, Siri, whatever it might be. And I'm not afraid of using it, but I'm also a realist, and I think it's going to take a lot of jobs. So I'm going to leave this here with you, and then you're going to tell me why I'm wrong here. But I think artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of doctor jobs. Not all of them. I think people still want to talk with humans, but I think a lot of the diagnosis, the that data information or whatever is going to do that. Yeah, but
okay, go ahead.
But that's what I think. But reframe it. Go ahead.
I would reframe that because we have a shortage, and I think we need doctors to be more efficient. We need to enable them to be more efficient in what we have to do. Are you taking a job, or are you removing? Are you removing the easier things so that the doctors can focus on what's really difficult, right? We just talked about how there's a million nurse shortage and there's 137,000 physician shortage. How do you make them more productive? You're not taking away from jobs. You're actually trying to fill jobs. And so I do believe that AI has the potential to do that. What I get annoyed at is when it's not clear and it's inefficient use of the conversation. Like, don't sit here and say everybody's going to lose their job, because to me, that's just fear mongering. You know how I love that. And I'm a little bit of a cynic, and I'm also a salesperson. So I'm like, you're making it noisy. And I really want, like, I've been doing this for 3 years. I can see the solution in this noise is like, let's educate people on what it really means. Like what you were saying with the CT scans. You'll be able to, the world has CT scans. You can go do it, do some basic level, and then you go to your doctor and you have a more effective conversation, as opposed to spending 4 hours trying to get him a copy so he can then look at it, and he might not even have it when you get there. So you have to wait until he gets it. That's what we're all sitting on, waiting for that data to get there.
Well, you're using the word fear-mongering. I like to use the word clickbaity. That was my only point. So what Shannon's referring to is I made a social media post saying that AI is going to take all of your jobs, and that was really just a clickbaity.
It was So see what people do for social media attention.
That's right. So no, but I think the
you got a response from me. You were like, I got a response. Shannon never comments on her stuff.
I got a click. But no,
follow Levi.
Follow Levi. Yeah, if you want to talk about Uber stuff. No, the scenario, right? So I Uber drive at Cornell University, and I do take a lot of graduate students, stuff like that. And I talk with them about artificial intelligence a bunch. I've actually talked to a couple of professors that are in the world of what they call machine learning. We say artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
and they're a little
bit
offended when I say that, right? No, it's machine learning.
Of course they are. Well, now I know that. I didn't realize that.
Right. So, but the funny thing is, I would say, obviously, just a few months ago, nobody knew about it. Right now, today, everybody's using it. We signed into my ChatGPT account and we saw my son using it, my son who's in college, and we're like, is he cheating or whatever, right? But I think when it comes to the scenarios that fascinate me, the futuristic, I'm thinking maybe 20 years on the road. So I'm not saying today, right? But in the future, if I had a CT scan, I can only get one of these two options to diagnose it. Option A would be the world's greatest doctor. Yeah. Right? Now it's going to cost me, I don't know, $1,000, but whatever. This world's greatest doctor, and he or she is going to look at my CT scan and give me their diagnosis of their 30 years of expertise. They've seen thousands and thousands of them. They're going to tell me what's wrong, right? And I think today I would go, yeah, that's the person I want. But I think 10, 20, 30 years from now, and this is where you're going to talk about data, is there will be artificial intelligence that has seen every single CT scan.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's going to be so much faster, and it's going to be virtually free, right? So I think that's where it's like, maybe it won't take some doctors' jobs, but it has to, right? If it gets access to all this data.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing about data collection. Yeah.
Right. So, but that in lies the problem we were just talking about before we got on there, the data.
So the data. So yeah. And so as long as Levi put himself on what he's a futuristic person, I will be honest, more cynical and conservative, which is funny as a startup person. And I learned some of the best startup people are conservative, which is weird. It's just such a like dichotomy, but because I'm not like a new technology person because I don't like playing around on my I like playing around on the side, but I want to get stuff done. So I'm a little different than that. So the thing for healthcare, and this is where I was going with this earlier, is that in order to be effective AI, and everybody talks about healthcare and AI, you have to get access to the data. But what have we just spent the last 6 months in our podcast talking about? You can't get access to the data. So Google has a really cool project where they're showing, studies, and everybody's trying to find ways to get patient data, but you can't. There's all these legal rules on what can be shared and what can't be shared, and the patient not being able to share their record. And that's where we say, listen, if we enable the patient to get their data and then they control what they release, that enables AI at that point. But we have to get to a point where you have a decent set of data to look at. Right now, it's all unbalanced because you can only get data if you're in a clinical trial or you're in something. That's why they're like, when we talk about health records, everybody's like, what are you going to do with that data? And you're like, we're not, because we have patients and we're putting, we want them to have the control of what they do with that data. We don't want to end up like a GoodRx and get fined. And it's just not why we started the company. So yeah, so if you don't have data, then you've got imbalanced results. So you could say all the CT scans, but how do you know they're all maybe there's only 4.
That's right.
Right? What's your data set that you're pulling when it's all silos, thousands of silos?
That's one of the problems with ChatGPT today, right? And people say that the data, even though it says it scrapes so much of the internet or whatever else it is, there's still people putting like throttles on it and controlling it. Yeah. And you don't know what they're doing. And I think that's intuitive of humans to have this distrust, whether it be, we just don't like computers, whether it be HAL or Terminator 2, the rise of machines. We really get fearful of computers doing that. So I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But in that future perfect world, right?
In the future, listen, in the future perfect world, because we have such a shortage and we have a financial problem. Like, I don't want to be the person who says, listen, our government is spending $4 trillion on healthcare that probably should only be 2. In the next 10 years, it's forecasted to be $6.9 trillion of wasted. Like, they've already proven 20% of that is waste. So we are wasting $1.5 trillion. AI, if it can clean that up, absolutely. I'm just like, let's not waste the time on something that can't be done, or like Google can probably spend the time for the 5 years perfecting the AI algorithms, why people like us go, let's solve the data problem.
Well, I was thinking about it in terms of what we do at Ursamin, right? This idea of like data. Yeah. And regardless whether there's AI or not, if the physician, if the nurse, if they get access to the right data, not inundated with every piece of data, but the data that's necessary to make the correct diagnosis, right? They're going to make better decisions faster for you too. And that's what we do at Ursamin, right? So, we're going to clean that data up. So when you go in to go see your physician, when you go in to see the nurse or whoever, they're not going to be inundated with everything. They'll get the things that they need to make the best decisions.
Yes. Yeah. The idea is, that you sort through, they don't want all the data. Nobody wants it. That's what we learned is patients want it because, listen, we're jumping around doctor to doctor now. I have 10 doctors. I need to have all of my data.
Right.
That doctor only needs that slice of data. So that's where we're like, okay, we have to make sure. Wearables are another thing. You've got terabytes of data being produced, but how much of it's useful? You really just want to pull up the events. They'll call them events. Your EKG, your heart rate went up, or your oxygen level went down. Like I was talking to my friend last night. If we had a pulse oximeter on my mother, we probably would have known what the chemo was doing to her, and we would have saved her life, but we didn't know. So that wearable data is so critical, but we didn't know that at the time. So it's just it's a whole fascinating, this is where I really nerd out on this data.
Well, thank you for participating in that one. Let's
thank
wrap.
you.
So again, here at Ursamin, we believe people make better health decisions when they have access to all the right data, whether that's artificial intelligence driven data or just data from your wearable.
Or it's going to be a debate. The next episode is going to be Levi and I fisticuffing over AI.
Fisticuffing.
Fisticuffing. I love that word. Or we'll have a kerfuffle.
Isn't it fisticuff?
Well, yeah, I just added the.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.